That was just awful.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day, even when the Tigers just, I don't even know if there is a single word to describe that I can say on air that can describe that performance. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. Terrible. Just brutal, man. That is got to be one of the least inspiring performances of the season for the Tigers. Certainly one of the sloppiest games of the year. They lose 8-5, which I mean, we'll talk about it. I think the fact that this was even a close game is far more of an indictment on the Pittsburgh Pirates' current state than it is like they turned it around, or the first half of the game for the Tigers was bad, and then they played really well in the second. That was disgusting, dude. That was absolutely brutal baseball. They fall to 60-42 on the season. They've now lost 8 of their last 9 games. They have scored 8 total runs since the All-Star break, and that is across 5 games. And going into this game, they had scored 3 total since the All-Star break. Pittsburgh improves to 41-61 on the season. So first thought, if you haven't gathered by now, is that I hated everything about that. I hated all of that. All 9 innings, I was not having a good time, which is very hard to do with me and a baseball game. And I have been, I think, and maybe this is, personal bias or whatever, but I think I've been relatively easy on them during this losing skid and the offense completely going silent and whatnot. I think I've been pretty gentle and the sky isn't falling, whatever. I still, whatever, don't think the sky's falling, but that was an unexcusable performance. That is not something that is defendable. Not to be overly dramatic, which I suppose it probably sounds like I am, but I'm hesitant to say that this team is bottoming out or that was I don't know, like rock bottom, using that terminology, because I am scared that they will then turn around and potentially outdo themselves. I don't want to, baseball, I don't want to jinx anything, but my goodness, that was brutal. And this is certainly pretty objectively, I think, the worst stretch of the season for this team at the present moment. And you can break this game into different, what do you want to call it? Different areas, different components. All of them brutal. Defense, brutal. Pitching, brutal. Hitting, brutal. Fundamentals, fundamental, mentally in the game, mental mistakes, brutal. What's even left? They ran the bases well when they were on base. I don't know. What did they do decently well? You you really just have to hope for a turnaround at the present moment and throw that game in the trash, because there really isn't too much else to say. That was just bad baseball. That was rough. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more briefly, like big picture at the end, if we have time. I know some people are really, like don't even buy at the deadline now, whatever. Like we'll talk about that later. Let's focus on what happened in these 9 innings first. What went wrong? Casey Mize, we're going to start with him. And I feel like that's almost going to be like maybe overlooked to an extent because of how brutal like everything else was. But Mize goes 4 innings, 10 hits, 5 runs. 4 of those are earned, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. His ERA is now up to 3.4. When it was announced he was an all-star, he had like a 2.9 or a 2.95. The splitter was non-existent in this game. He could not get swing and miss on it on a consistent basis. I think he ended with 1 or maybe 2 whiffs on the splitter in the whole outing. Pushed 80 whatever pitches through just the 4 innings. No swing and miss really on all of his secondary, period. The best swing and miss pitch he had in this outing was the fastball, and it was really the only swing and miss pitch he had in this outing. And again, it is one outing. He had an all-star caliber first half. These are all great things. I'm not like tearing away his season because of one bad outing. But this is the concern for Casey Mize. Like, if you're looking for any sort of, like, is this sustainable? Is this, a sub-3 ERA we can expect going forward? Performances like this highlight the concerns that not only me, but like people that are way smarter than me as well also have, which is just there's not enough swing and miss on secondary pitches. And that's been a problem his entire major league career. This guy made a living with getting whiffs when he was in college and when he was in the minor leagues. Just hasn't happened. Even post-injury, it's gotten better since coming back from the injury where he missed substantial time. But that better than what it was does not mean good. Does not mean it's a plus attribute of his on the mound. So we've seen glimpses. We've seen the splitter play really well on a game to game basis. We've seen the different variations of the slider that have played at different points throughout the season. He's had really good games with the slurve and with the like cutter thing and you know what I mean? Like he has had individual good performances, but they don't last. And I think that is the concern. So hopefully he can get back on the horse. Hopefully this is just a blip and this is, we can overreact to it now and then it's okay. But performances like this remind you of the concerns that people have had with Mize, even with the really good first half. Or if you want to just cancel that out, you can just say with his major league career up to this point. Let's talk about the rest, because this game was certainly not all on Casey Mize, although he wasn't great on the bump. As I, spent the first like 5 or 6 minutes of the show just whining, everything kind of went poorly in this one. We'll talk about that right after this. Got to talk to you today about our friends over at Monarch Money. Have you ever wished managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building your wealth. There's a lot of great features there. Again, like kind of keeping tabs on all of the, like monthly expenses you have or the subscriptions you may have, keeping all of those things all in one place instead of having to check, 4 different apps to, figure out what you're spending money on every single month. It's really nice to have a centralized location on your phone all in one place. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off of your first year. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day, and we will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping the series finale against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Hopefully a win. Hopefully they do not get swept by the 2025 Pittsburgh Pirates. That would not be great. But they do lose this series regardless, and that is due to a loss on Tuesday night. I really want to harp on like the just awful fundamental baseball that was in this game. Not only was it the like really egregious stuff, like Parker Meadows lost the ball in his sun, rather, like that, you know what I mean? That happens once a season. It was, you know what I mean? It sucks. It's stupid. It's not something that we usually see from him. But like, I'm sure he's frustrated about it. I'm not concerned that like our outfielders are just going to get every single ball lost in the sun the rest of the season. That just happens sometimes. Kind of everything else was super avoidable. The one that drives everybody insane, obviously, is the Torkelson play. That is inexcusable. And thank goodness he had a great day at the plate. Okay. At least somewhat salvages that run, but that is just inexcusable stuff that we usually don't see from this Tigers team. And I know the broadcast harped on that a lot, so I'm not going to just like regurgitate the, hey, like this doesn't happen very often thing. I have said that plenty over the last week and a half. This was bad, and it deserves to be called bad, right? Just simply not jogging to a baseball fast enough and letting a guy that has great speed on third base just kind of waltz home is just inexcusable stuff. Then you have Winsel Perez not touching home plate. I'm not even really sure how that happens. But B, even after plays like that, in the history of baseball, for the last 100 years, a play like that happens at the plate, and then the runner gets up and just like tags home plate anyway, just to like be sure. I am blown away. But because all three of those things happened in like a 2-inning stretch. Oh, just the worst. And again, like this doesn't mean it's a reoccurring thing or something that's happened a lot. It's been the opposite. They've played fantastic fundamental baseball all season. But that doesn't change the fact that it was terrible on Tuesday. Then the bullpen comes into the game, and you have Carlos Hernandez, who last time I checked, his ERA was 6.88. I'm not sure if that's what it ended at, because he obviously was responsible for some runners on base when he got pulled from the game. So I don't even know if it might even be 7 by the time we're talking about it. My opinion of there was, there was talk about maybe, he had changed up his arsenal or was trying new things. That's great. He should be. His ERA hasn't been good. It hasn't been good no matter what team he's played for all season. But he needed to improve. This was really the first time we've seen him in a little bit. It wasn't really any better. The command was all over the place. He was throwing balls to the backstop. His ERA is pushing 7. I agree with the decision to claim him. You have no velocity in your bullpen. All he's doing is just replacing the revolving door of mush that has been at the bottom of this bullpen anyways. Okay, he took over, Kenta Maeda's spot or like Matt Gage or like whoever they were throwing out there, in low leverage in the 6th inning anyway. But like, you also can realize when the experiment is over. I'm not sure this is going to work. We'll see. We'll see. The offense. We haven't even talked about it. We're halfway through the show. We haven't even talked about the offense. Mitch Keller diced you. And like, to be fair, again, Mitch Keller has been really good. He's been really good the last 2 months, but he's been good all season. The offense got absolutely dismantled. Jake Rogers, home run. Jahmai Jones, pinch hit home run off of the bullpen. That's the extent. Again, the fact that they scored 5 is nothing short of a miracle to me, given how they looked at the plate. Riley Greene continues to be a strikeout machine, is actually the tying run at the plate in the 9th inning. Strikeout. Torkelson, good day at the plate. Colt Keith. Again, I have been one of the biggest Colt Keith defenders ever. I will continue to be. This is, a stretch, but it doesn't change the fact that this same thing happened last year, where Colt Keith was tearing the cover off the ball in June, and then July hit, and it fell apart again. It is astonishing to me that the entire offense seems to be slumping at the same time, and it's a 162 game season. That happens, right? It doesn't make it any less mind-boggling or frustrating in the moment. This game was just sloppy all around. There was 50 balls that hit off the bricked backstop at PNC and bounced, back to Kingdom Come. Seriously, it felt like there were 15 wild pitches / pass balls that bounced off the brick and then ended up in center field or whatever. Nothing was good. Nothing. Okay, that's a lie, because now that was actually a hilariously bad transition. That might be the worst transition I've ever had. Let's talk about what went right. Because it wasn't 100% terrible. I was being hyperbolic and overly dramatic. And honestly, legitimately, okay, as you listen to this, you know, this is why I set the show up this way. And this is why I love this format so much. And I try to stick true to it as best as I can. Because I can be hyperbolic and overly dramatic. And this forces me to acknowledge good and bad things that happened in every game, no matter you win by 20, lose by 20. It's an ugly game. It's a beautiful game. So what went right? I want to give credit to Javi. Had a RISP opportunity he didn't come through in, but relatively speaking, relative to his teammates, as my co-host over at Locked On Wings, Brian Fisher would say, Javi, 1 for 3 at the plate, but made 3 fantastic defensive plays. Now, that just prevented the game from being 11-5 instead of 8-5 ultimately. But in the moment, those are really big deals. He has 2 plays at the plate that are fantastic from the infield. Infield in, he goes home, gets both of them out, and then a beautiful relay. Could not have set the ball in any better from the shallow outfield. Great to start off the relay. Winfield Perez out in right field as well, but I want to make sure that's highlighted because that is, Javi had a pretty good all-around game, all things considered. Jake Rogers, the 3-run homer. It's great. He has not been good offensively all year. That's great that he got us on the board, and that for a second there it looked like maybe they weren't completely dead in the water. That's all awesome. But it doesn't change my opinion of the fact that he's hitting 160 with a 570 OPS even after the homer. So we'll see. We'll see what happens from here. If it is any indication of things to come, that would be awesome. But I'm not going to freak out over one plate appearance. Spencer Torkelson, to his credit, again, very frustrating play in the field. However, goes 3 for 4 at the dish. Really the only starter that played the whole game that showed up offensively. I feel like, am I losing my mind, or don't answer that? Don't ask my therapist that question either. Is it? I feel, maybe this is just, again, heat of the moment, whatever. I feel like Torkelson and Greene, one slumps when the other's on fire, and vice versa. Is that a thing? I don't know. That was such a bad baseball game, guys. That was, my goodness. So shout out Torque, some good at bats in this ballgame. And then Jahmai Jones. In all seriousness, it is important for him to get going. And the reason why is because I think that giving AJ the flexibility of having, that bench option that is a good pinch hitter against lefties type of thing, I think is, like we saw the value of Andy Ibanez over the last couple of seasons. Like, I really think him having a guy like that in his back pocket is important for his managerial style. So I really do, in all seriousness, think it's important that Jahmai Jones gets it going. Let's talk stuff. Not a ton of stuff, but some stuff. Okay, we'll do that right after this. First, got to talk to y'all about our friends over at Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a bursted pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? No, you called the next one. That's why having a reliable business line is so unbelievably important, and that's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. If you juggle 2 phones to keep personal and business calls separate, well, Open Phone solves that instantly. Your whole team can share a number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. There's no more who's handling this or who's handling that. It is fantastic. And Open Phone is offering Locked On Tigers listeners 20% off of your first 6 months. Openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. That's OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnMLB. MLB. And if you have an existing number with a different service, Open Phone will port them over for no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On. Whoa. I feel like I feel my computer just completely freaked out. So on brand for this evening. We're back though, I think. Hopefully, if not, then whatever. So stuff. Okay, I don't even want to talk about this baseball game really ever again. But I don't really have too much else to say on it, I guess, either. Now that I'm thinking about it, so we'll move on. Injury updates. Kerry Carpenter, rehab assignment starting in AAA. Thank goodness. I know I said, maybe questioned Carpenter's role on the team. It wasn't even that. My point was, whatever that was, earlier this week, last week, whatever, is that he gets almost all of his value from hitting righties. And when he wasn't doing that, he has very little value. My goodness, do we need just anyone that can hit a baseball at the present moment? So very much a welcomed return. Hopefully it's a quick rehab stint down in Toledo, but he is starting that on Tuesday night. So last night, as you listen to this on Wednesday, Alex Lang also back to Toledo to continue a rehab assignment, kind of been, stopping and going. We'll see if he's able to pitch relatively soon. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We can have that conversation, when we get to it. So this sucked. That was bad. I've said that a few times now. I don't think this team is bad. Okay, they're 19 games over 500, 18 games now over 500, even after losing 7 of their last 8. But that doesn't make the stretches any less frustrating. And it certainly doesn't make them any less alarming or concerning. I am not telling you to like just brush this off and be like, oh, like, we have a really good record, so like, who can be mad? No, you have clearly, right? I'm not going to be a hypocrite. You have every right to be mad or frustrated at a performance like that. It's just, again, like, perspective is important. This is something, it's the big debate, right? Are they as bad as they're playing right now, or are they as good as they were playing in May and June? Or is the truth somewhere in the middle? It usually is. I do not think that the Detroit Tigers are like getting swept and kind of dominated by the Pittsburgh Pirates bad. I think they have proven, and they have a much bigger sample size of proving that this season. That being said, they need help. This bullpen is collapsing. The offense is collapsing. The rotation outside of Skubal is collapsing. They need help immediately. There's 60 games left. They have plenty of time. They got over a week until the trade deadline. Troy Melton is getting a chance today as you listen to this, right? There are going to be opportunities for them to receive that help. That doesn't mean that we can't acknowledge that they need it. And they definitely do at the present moment. Kevin McGonigal, walk-off. That was kind of cool. He's so good. He's so tough. Series finale on Wednesday. Afternoon game, an early afternoon game, too. It's like a 12:30 first pitch. We're talking pre-1 o'clock baseball, like the good old days. So we will see how the Tigers fare in that one. It's going to be Troy Melton's major league debut against Bailey Falter, who has not had a super great year, but not a terrible year either. Kind of like just right, around a 4 ERA. I have a lot of excitement for Troy Melton. Again, I think that the stuff is good, and he has a really good strikeout rate. He doesn't have a very high walk rate. He throws upper 90s. There's a lot to like with him, and I think, again, given the fact that it feels like everything is kind of like crumbling, that I think this is like a welcomed boost of excitement. Maybe, kind of pump the team up a little bit. Remind everybody, like, you do have to perform, and this is a really good farm system that will replace you if you do not. And most importantly, let's score some effing runs, dude. My goodness gravy. Jake, I tweeted this out. Jake Rodgers, when he hit the 3-run homer, that was the exact amount of runs that the Tigers had scored up until that swing since the All-Star break. Not good. Let's turn it around, okay? Let's get back on the horse. Start playing like a team that's, dang near 20 games over 500. Gonna end the show by talking about Steven Moya, and his family is going through a really tough time. I encourage everyone to go watch his heartfelt address to the fans. Just absolutely devastating. His wife passed away very unexpectedly at the end of last week, over the weekend. And this is, wasn't a Tiger for very long, but is someone that everyone remembers. And I think it's important to support and uplift our own. And that's what, as frustrating as the baseball team is on the field, awful events like this remind you of what is the most important, puts kind of everything into perspective. And I can't imagine what him and his children are going through in this present moment. So thoughts and prayers with Steven Moya. Again, go uplift and support one of our own, because that's, at the end of the day, kind of all we have is each other. And that is what makes this fan base and community so great. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. And I'll catch you all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.